Assalamualaikum. Welcome to Jack 221 Ethics first video lecture. Kailan ba naging tama ang mali? In your age, sigurado ako may nakapagsabi na sa inyo na kapag malaki ka na, alam mo na ang tama at mali. Pero kailan nga ba natin masasabi ng isang bagay or desisyon ay tama o mali? Answering this type of question and other questions concerning how we live, concerning our life, and how to make decisions is one of the major objective of this subject, ethics. In this lesson, you are expected to define ethics and to understand its basic concepts. In understanding basic concepts about ethics, you are also expected to relate them and to use them in your present situation as a student and as a human being who belongs to a community. So your task is not only to remember ethical concepts, but also to apply them into your own life, because it will be useless if you only understood the concept, the theories, the ideas, without really applying it, without really utilizing it in your life, in your situation.
We will address the question, what is ethics? The term ethics is derived from the Greek word ethos, which originally means custom or character. Broadly construed, ethics is a branch of philosophy that studies the rightness or wrongness of a human action. In particular, this branch of philosophy is concerned with questions of how human persons ought to act, and the search for a definition of right conduct and the good life. It is for this reason that the attempt to seek the good through the aid of reason is the traditional goal of ethicists. It must be noted, however, that there is no single absolute definition of ethics. This is because ethics as a discipline is constantly evolving as a result of a change in socio-cultural and political context. For example, in the Greek tradition, ethics was conceived as relating to the concept of the good life. Thus, the ethical inquiry during this time was directed toward discovering the nature of happiness. In fact, Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics does not only present a theory of happiness, but also provides ways in which happiness is attained. Now, centuries later, a quite different orientation was introduced by the Judeo-Christian tradition. In this ethical tradition, the ideals of righteousness before God and the love of God and neighbor, not the happy or pleasant life, constitute the substance of ethics. Indeed, if we make an effort to reconcile these views, we are faced with the difficult task of defining the relationship between doing what is right and being happy. Again, it is for this reason that we cannot have an absolute definition of ethics. The least that we can do, in my opinion, is to describe the nature and dynamics of ethics based on a specific time and context.
Plato and Aristotle asserted that philosophy begins with wonder. To wonder is to ask profound questions in connection to our lives, such as who am I, what is the nature of the universe, etc. So basically, when you start to ask yourself those type of questions, it is where philosophy begins. That is according to Plato and Aristotle. The theoretical study of ethics is not normally something that many people would regard as something important. For them, it is not really for usually normal people or average people, or most people do not really think how important ethical theories are, kasi they believe that they can go on with their lives, they can survive their day-to-day lives of decision making with the influence of rule of the thumb. Okay, when we say rule of the thumb, a broadly accurate guide or principle based on experience or practice rather than theory. So, for example, in decision making, they do not really need or they do not really stick to an existing theory. Okay, alam naman maghalungkat pa sila ng libro to use a specific theory kasi for them they use rule of the thumb. When you say rule of the thumb, something that is accepted normally or commonly used. Okay, for example of this is, yes, it is common or it is universal that it is wrong to kill. It is wrong to steal. Diba? So, that is a common notion. So, rule of the thumb. So, for example, in decision making, some people do not really think how important ethical theory is, how important the study of ethics is. Kasi they stick to the rule of the thumb. They stick to what they have already know. They stick to their own principles in life. Okay? But sometimes, because of the complexities of life, hindi naman, yes, gusto natin ng simpleng buhay, pero hindi rin natin maiiwasan na dumarating yung mga situations where these simple rules that we have known or we have used for a long time is put to test. Consider the idea that killing is wrong. We all know that killing is wrong. Does this mean that capital punishment is wrong? Halimbawa, may nang-rape. Tapos, he was sentenced to death or pinatawan siya ng capital punishment. Mali ba yun? Is it wrong to kill animals? Kahit na pinagpipiestahan ka ng lamok, hindi mo pa rin sila papatayin kasi mali ang pumatay? Is killing in self-defense wrong? You have killed someone because you just defended yourself. Is that wrong? Is euthanasia wrong? When you say euthanasia, for example, someone is in coma or comatose yung tao for a long period of time, then the relatives cannot, hindi na nila kaya yung gastos, halimbawa, then they decided to cut off the machine that keeps the patient or the person alive. That is euthanasia. So, mali ba yun? If we try to apply our everyday notions of right and wrong to these type of questions, straightforward answers are not always forthcoming.
Generally speaking, ethics is about matters such as the good thing that we should pursue and the bad thing that we should avoid, the right ways in which we could or should act, and the wrong ways of acting. Ethics as a subject for us to study is about determining the grounds for the values with particular and special significance to human life. Let us move on to the discussion of the three kinds of valuation. What valuation belongs to ethics? Does calling a movie bad and good needs moral judgment? Or are we saying that someone is immoral when he or she closed the door impolitely? In ethics, we have three valuation. We have the aesthetics, etiquette, and technical.
First, we have aesthetics. Aesthetics is from the Greek word aesthesis, which means sense or feeling, and it refers to the judgments of personal approval or disapproval that we make about what we see, what we hear, smell, or taste. So it pertains or it refers to our personal preferences or our personal tastes. Diba? Usong-uso ngayon yung napaka-aesthetic naman ng picture mo. Or halimbawa, itong image na ito. We have here a picture of a study area that is very aesthetically pleasing to the eyes. Diba? So, aesthetics as a valuation is when we appreciate as a thing, for example, or something, an object, based on our taste, based on our preferences. When we approve of something because we like it, we like how it looks, we like how it tastes or smell, or how it sounds. So that is aesthetics. Next, then we have etiquette. Etiquette is concerned with right or wrong actions, but those which might be considered not quite grave enough to belong to a discussion on ethics. So, etiquette siya. Usually, ito yung mga do's and don'ts, mga bawal gawin, or ano yung mga manners na tamang gawin when you, for example, this one, social manners for kids. So, yun. Say thank you, greet people, open doors, mga ganyang actions ba or ganyang type of principles or guidelines, etiquette ang tawag diyan. It is hindi siya masyadong mabigat that can lead into an ethical discussion. So etiquette, mga do's and don'ts, manners, mga ganun. Lastly, we have the technical. Technical from the Greek word techne, and it refers to a proper way or right way of doing things. So, we have an example here, memorization techniques. So, mga ganitong klase ng ganitong ideas, techniques, pwede rin dito yung recipes, 'di ba? So, hindi siya masyadong mabigat that will lead to ethical issues. No, halimbawa, hindi naman siguro masama kung hindi mo finalo yung original recipe. So, instead na nakalagay sa recipe is honey, wala kang honey. So, nilagay mo na lang sugar. So, hindi naman siya masyadong malala. 'Di ba? So, it does not concern ethical issues, no? So, yun yung idea ng valuation sa aesthetics, sa etiquette, and sa technical. These valuations are not considered in the discussion of ethics. Evaluations that belong to aesthetics are personal preferences or taste. Etiquette or societal understanding of right or wrong, and technical good or bad in something are not considered in the discussion of ethics since they are personal and they are not that severe or they're not grave. What belongs in ethical discussions are issues that are very severe, that are complex or complicated, that are severe with intensity, questions that matter with life and death. So, the concern of well-being and life itself. So, yun lang yung i-consider sa ethical discussion. But this valuation, yung mga under sa valuation sa aesthetics, sa etiquette and technical, those are not severe. Hindi sila masyadong malalang usapin na kailangan is gamitan ng ethical frameworks or ethical theories. No, so yun yung mga bagay na pwede silang pasok sa rule of the thumb na alam natin. And usually these valuations are personal, lalo na yung aesthetics, 'di ba? Kasi we have our personal preferences of how we approve or disapprove of things around us. Ang mga issue na under or pwedeng i-consider natin na gamitan ng ethical theories or pwedeng i-consider as discussion in ethics is yung mga issues katulad ng corruption, katulad ng war, capital punishment, poverty, killing, and kung ano-ano pang issue na it will matter with life and death, no? Kasi ito yung mga moral issues na it greatly affect our human life, no? So, yun yung mga questions or mga issues that is considered in the discussion of ethics. Pero, kailan nga rin ba natin masasabi na ang isang question or isang issue ay grave enough or severe enough para makonsider in ethical discussion? Kasi halimbawa, no? Can we say that not wearing mask and not following protocols during this pandemic are just bad manners lang ba siya? Or kailangan niya ng mas kailangan niya ng moral condemnation. Diba? Kasi protocols could be under etiquette, diba? Pwede siyang under etiquette. But if it matters sa life and death ng tao, doon siya papasok sa ethics. So, yun yung mga kind of questions or concern na medyo mapapaisip tayo na para siyang under siya sa valuation kasi it just under siya sa etiquette. Pero at the end of the day, we will realize na wait, it matters life and death, 'di ba? Kasi wearing of mask and following health protocols, no? So yun yung susubukan nating i-find out sa subject na ito. Okay, as for our first assessment or first activity, meron tayong activity dito, no? So, we have here an assessment that you have or a situation that you have to analyze, no? In a recent interview with Vice President and Presidential Aspirant Leni Robredo, she stated that she has no problem with voters accepting money from politicians during the campaign season. But she urged them to vote according to their conscience. And this statement became viral on the World Wide Web. Naging viral yung sinabi niya na okay lang daw na tanggapin mo yung pera na, parati kong sinasabi, tanggapin yung kasi galing din naman yun sa atin. So yun, okay lang daw sa kanya na tanggapin natin yung uh, pera galing sa mga politicians. But still, iboto daw natin kung sino yung gusto natin. So, ano sa tingin nyo? No. So, you have to analyze this case. Kasi may mga conflicting thoughts dito, no? There are conflicting thoughts in the statement. Okay lang ba talaga na ibenta natin yung boto natin? So, let's see. Explain your answers. So, paano natin explain ang answer natin? Saan tayo sasagot? Or to submit your answer. So, your answer must be submitted via Edmodo assignment post. So, magpo-post, meron akong post sa Edmodo class natin na assignment post. Doon nyo ito turn in yung answer nyo. So, maikli lang naman. You just have to explain your answer about that case in 7 to 10 sentences. Mga isang paragraph lang or isa or dalawa, tatlong paragraph, 7 to 10 sentences, and take note, plagiarized answers or those answers that are copy-pasted from the internet will not be given credit. Okay? Walang score yun. Okay, let's proceed with another topic. We have here ethics and moral. So we are going to find out or we're going to discuss the differences and similarities of ethics and morals. Kasi most of the time, itong dalawang ito, na pagpapalit or parang for others, they are just the same, but for some, they are different. So let us find out. First, let us talk about morals. So the word morals may be used to refer to specific beliefs or attitudes that people have to describe acts that people perform. So an individual's conduct is referred to as his morals, and if he falls short behaving properly, it's immoral. So kapag tama yung ginagawa ng isang tao, yung act, yung attitude ng isang tao, kapag nakaayon siya doon sa paniniwala ng isang tao, moral yun. Kapag hindi naman, immoral yun. Halimbawa, in our religion, sa religion natin, in Islam, okay lang na mag-asawa ng hanggang 4, given that the man can equally treat them all. 'Di ba? Yung 4 na wife. That is morally right in Islam. But in our belief, in our specific belief, but for other culture and other religion, for them, marrying more than one is immoral. So, yung morality ng isang tao, nakabase talaga siya sa belief or paniniwala, either in their religion or in their culture. Let us have another example, okay? For example, when a man returned a lost wallet to the owner, his action is considered moral. Halimbawa, nakapulot ka ng wallet, may maraming pera, may mga IDs, may mga cars, no? Kapag ikaw, napulot mo siya, then binalik mo sa may-ari, that is moral. Pero, kapag ikaw naman na nakapulot, is kinuha mo lang siya without the intention of returning it to the owner, then your action is considered immoral. Mga ganong ideas ba? Okay, your action the morality of your action really depends on your beliefs and on your practices or belief natin. So, we have moral judgment, we have moral reasoning that will be discussed further in this video. Then we have ethics. Okay, our subject, ethics. So ethics can be spoken of as the discipline of studying and understanding ideal human behavior and ideal ways of thinking. So ethics is acknowledged as an intellectual discipline belonging to philosophy. So sa ethics naman, pinag-aaralan natin dito is kung paano natin maintindihan or malalaman ano ba yung dapat or ideal na behavior ng isang tao. Paano ba yung dapat natin na gagawin? So, it serves as guide actually, no? Kasi it will teach us how to decide or how to judge a specific action or situation if it is right or wrong. So, for example, we have here an example. A policeman arresting a man, bribing him, that action is considered, for example, no? Ito, may police, no? Nakikita mo yung ginagawa nila. A policeman arresting a man, bribing him, the action is considered ethical, no? Yung police, halimbawa, kung yung police is may nanghuli, tapos yung nahuli niya, sinubukan niyang i-bribe or ano yung tawag doon, bibigyan na lang niya ng pera, mga ganun, padulas yung term nila. Pero hindi siya kinuha ng police. That is ethical. Pero, kung yung police, katulad dito sa example, sa picture, is tinanggap niya yung bribe at pinalaya or inabsuelto niya yung may kasalanan, that action is considered unethical. So, ethics actually is more on professional field, no? Mas inclined siya sa professional field. Kasi usually, ang may mga ethical codes naman talaga is yung mga professional career natin. Merong code of ethics sa engineering, may code of ethics sa teaching. So, yun yung difference nila actually. Morality or morals, it based solely on the belief of the person. Kung paano sa paniniwala niya, ano ba yung tama at mali. Pero yung ethics, halimbawa, as a teacher, halimbawa, may code of ethics kaming sinusunod na doon nakabase if yung actions or yung ginagawa namin ay tama or mali. 'Di ba? Kasi halimbawa, sa morality, okay lang naman na ma-inlove ka ma-inlove ka sa isang tao, 'di ba? Okay lang 'yun, hindi naman masama 'yon na magkagusto ka. Pero of course, in our religion, if you want someone, you have to marry him or her agad. Hindi tolerated sa Islam yung boyfriend-girlfriend, di ba? But, for example, in the code of ethics of the teachers, halimbawa, yung nagkagustuhan ay teacher at saka yung student. That is unethical for the teacher. Kasi, for example, sa profession ng teacher, may code of ethics siyang sinusunod. So, that would be unethical. Pero if morality yung pag-uusapan, pwedeng okay lang siya. So, ganun yung difference ng morals and ethics. And again, ethics is a branch of philosophy that studies morality or the rightness or wrongness of human conduct. So, pwedeng yung morality or morals under siya sa ethics. While morality speaks of code or system behavior in regards to standard of right and wrong behavior. So, yun. I hope alam na natin yung difference ng ethical action and moral action. So, almost the same naman siya na Parehas sila na it talks about good and bad behavior, right or wrong. It's just that ethics, morality is very general and ethics is very specific. I think yun siguro yung isa sa mga differences nila. Okay, so in studying ethics, we need to distinguish whether the ethical study that we are doing is descriptive or normative. So ito yung dalawang types, o pwede siyang sabihin types of ethics. We have descriptive and normative. No? So descriptive, from the term describe, okay? Descriptive study of ethics, it reports how people, particularly a group, make their moral valuations without making any judgment either for or against these valuations. So in a descriptive ethics, it is based on the group. It based on how a group of people approves of an action. How this group of people approves or make their actions or evaluations moral or immoral. So, halimbawa yung example natin kanina, in a specific religion, may mga bagay na for them, it is morally correct. But for other religion or other culture or other beliefs, immoral yung action na yun. So, descriptive siya if it pertains to the beliefs of a particular group. While normative study of ethics is often done in philosophy or moral theology. So, dito na pumapasok yung mga philosophers. So, it engages the question, what could or should be considered as the right way of acting. So, in other words, so normative study of ethics, so normative discussion, nagbibigay sila ng prescription or nagbibigay sila ng ganito dapat tayo mag-act. Ito dapat yung standard natin. So, it prescribes what we ought to maintain as our standards or basis for moral evaluation. So, normative study of ethics, it is done with or by philosophers. So, dito, nagsiset sila ng standard, ano dapat yung tama, ano dapat yung standard, ano dapat yung gagawin natin. For example, in a specific situations. So, yun yung difference nila. So, sa normative, it prescribes. So, may prescription na ito dapat. May guide talaga. While sa descriptive, it based solely doon sa belief ng isang grupo. Okay? So, the norm for the common people in an area, halimbawa, ganon. So, that is the difference between descriptive and normative. So, sana naintindihan nyo. Okay, let's move on to other topic. We have here issue, decision, judgment, and dilemma. So, lahat ito concerned ng ethics, no? So, in any situation, it is very vital, it is important to recognize the existence of an ethical issue sa lahat ng situation in our everyday lives, everyday decision making. It is very important na alam natin or ma-recognize natin yung kung anong ethical issue ba yon. If it's just under valuation or kailangan talaga ng ethical thinking para ma-resolve yun. So, according to Calano et al. 2018, a moral issue refers to those situations that are often the source of considerable and inconclusive debate. So, a situation that calls for moral valuation can be called a moral issue. Usually, ito yung mga issue na madalas pinagdedebatehan. Kasi, it could be moral or some of people, sa iba, okay lang. Pero sa iba naman, hindi. No? So, mga halimbawa nito is personal and communal issues on, halimbawa, abortion. Issues on abortion. Kasi, di ba, sa iba, isinusulong nila na okay lang daw yung abortion, especially sa ibang countries, sa mga liberated countries, kasi for them, it's our body, it's our decision, ganun yung paniniwala nila. But for those religious people, of course, especially in Islam, it is very wrong to commit abortion. Another issues that falls under moral issues, we have divorce. Though sa Islam, meron tayong tinatawag na talak, but for other religion, halimbawa, sa Catholic, it is very mabigat sa kanila yung divorce. And we have capital punishment, yung death penalty, yung mga ganyang issue ba. So these are examples of issues that falls under moral issues. These are issues that needs moral evaluation. A person who is confronted with an issue that needs an action to perform is called moral decision. So yung kanina moral issue, yung mga i-identify lang natin ano yung mga issue na ma-fall under sa moral issue na kailangan ng moral valuation. But this time, we will talk about moral decisions. These are issues na kailangan natin mag-decide. So when one is placed in a situation and confronted by the choice, kailangan nating mamili of what act to perform, she or he is called to make a moral decision. Kapag nandoon ka na sa moral issue, ikaw yung nakakaharap doon sa issue na yon, ikaw din yung gagawan ng decision. So it's your choice, no? So, for example, no, in a marriage, so na face nila yung, for example, nagkaroon sila ng issues, nagkaroon sila ng problem, nandun sila sa point na kailangan nilang mag-divorce. So you have to make a decision. So being a Muslim, at some point, you may think na it's okay, may talak naman, ganyan. But for other religion, it is very, it's very heavy, it's very grave na decision making. So those action na kailangan mong mag-decide, kailangan mong mamili, that is what we call moral decision. Kapag yung tao nandoon sa lugar kung saan kailangan niyang mag-decide doon sa moral issue. That is moral decision. So when we decide, we need to ask, who decides whether our action is good or bad? For example, nakaharap mo ang isang moral issue, then nag-decide ka, sinong magsasabi na yung decision mo ay tama o mali? So in this matter, when a person is an observer, making an assessment on the action or behavior of someone, she or he is making moral judgment. Moral judgment. Iba yung moral judgment. At saka yung talaga mga taong judgmental, di ba? Katulad ng sa picture natin. Yung mga taong galit sa akin, kahit hindi ko inaano, pa-check up na kayo, malala na yan. Baka hindi na yan moral judgment. Baka immoral judgment na yan. So yan. When a person is facing an issue that needs valuation or moral valuation, ang yung issue ang tinatawag ng moral issue. Kapag naman yung taong yon kailangan mag-decide or mamili, that is moral decision. Then, when the decision is done, yung mag-a-assess or magsasabi na if that decision is right or wrong, tinatawag yon na moral judgment. Naintindihan? I hope so. One example here. Who would you save? Family, lover, or $5 million? So, kung ikaw yung mag-decide, halimbawa, is this a moral issue? No. It's for you to find out. This is a moral issue. Then you have to make a moral decision. Ano yung pipiliin mo sa tatlo? So, let's see your answers in the comment section of this video. Dito sa video na to, this is sa YouTube. So, mag-comment ka dyan kung ano yung answer mo sa question na ito. So, in answering, of course, you have to write your full name, your ID number, and your answer. So, you can answer it in Tagalog or in English. So, that would be an additional point. Tayong tinatawag ng moral dilemma. When one is torn between choosing one of two goods or choosing between the lesser of two evils, this is referred to as moral dilemma. Halimbawa, for you, lahat maganda yung choices. Pero pipili ka, alin yung pinakamaganda? That is moral dilemma. Or parehas na evil or parehas na bad yung choices, doon ka sa less evil. That is moral dilemma. Halimbawa, in this upcoming election, so may mga tao na kung tatanungin mo, lahat naman ng politician is may baho, ganun ba? So, pipili ka lang ng hindi mabaho. Ganon, di ba? Kasi for them, all politicians are evil. So, pasintabi doon sa may mga relatives na politician, no? So, all politicians have something evil with them. You just have to choose kung sino yung pinaka-lesser na evil, mga ganon, no? So, those types of situations calls for a moral, tinatawag siya na moral dilemma. Okay? So, dilemma, it refers to a situation, yun nga, in which a tough choice has to be made between two or more options, especially more or less equally undesirable ones. Katulad nung kaninang binigay natin na question na kung sino yung isi-save mo. Yung family ba, yung lover ba, or yung family. That is a dilemma. So, you are facing, in answering that question, you are facing a dilemma. Kung alin doon yung pinaka gusto mo or pinaka hindi. Kasi lahat naman yun gusto mo, di ba? So, pipili ka lang, i-rank mo lang sila. That is dilemma and that is a tough choice. Dilemma ang tawag doon. No? So, what is common to moral dilemmas are conflict. Conflict. Lahat naman ng dilemma may conflict. In each ethical dilemma, an agent regards himself as having a moral reasons to do each of two actions. But doing both seems to be ethically not possible. So for further discussions about moral dilemma, check out this link. You can simply type that link or I will just put the link in the description box of this video. So for further discussions about moral dilemma, kasi masyado nang mahaba itong video kung i-discuss pa natin dito. Okay? Then, I think this will be the last topic for this video, ethics and reasoning. Paano ba natin masasabi na yung decision, balikan natin yung question natin sa una, yung decision natin is morally right or wrong? Paano natin masasabi yung decision na ginawa natin ay tama or mali? By making decisions, for example, based on your emotion, may lead you into problems or more problems. So sabi nga nila, wag na wag kang magde-decide or gagawa ng desisyon kapag galit ka or kapag masaya ka. Kasi at that time, your decision-making capacity is affected by your emotion. So we will only know certainly what is right and wrong if we use reasoning. That is why reasoning is very important in the study of ethics. Masasabi lang natin na tama yun at mali kung pag-iisipan natin ng maigi, kung gagawin natin ng reasoning. So the reasoning is an important tool for studying ethics. But talking about reasoning needs further clarification. So that question is, what kind of reasoning yung gagawin natin para makadecide tayo if our decision is ethical or not? Ethical or moral reasoning is in making informed decisions. So, informed decision, you decide based on the information that you have gathered or that you've already known. It is not based on reward or punishment. Pag mag-reason out ka or when you are trying to decide, do not solely based, wag ka lang magbabase kung ano yung magiging reward niya at the end of the decision making or ano yung magiging punishment. Our reason is shallow when we do not cheat because we are afraid to be caught or we help so that people will praise our good work. So, magiging mababaw yung reasoning natin kapag hindi natin inisip na, I have to make decision kasi natatakot ako na baka may mangyaring masama. Or, we do not help other people, halimbawa, kasi gusto lang natin na ma-compliment tayo na ay ang bait niya para masabi hindi, 'di ba? We do not do that for the sake of compliment. For example, no? We help other people because we know that is the moral or the right thing to do. We do not decide to help other people because we just want to show off, which is normally ginagawa ng mga politicians na tumutulong sila kapag mostly, hindi lahat, kapag campaign period. Pero kapag nahalal na sila, wala, chill lang sila, driving lang sila ng kanilang mga pick up ng mga magagandang sasakyan. Again, pasintabi, no? So, hindi naman lahat, no? So, asking the question, why? Ganon. So for our reasoning to be powerful, para maging powerful yung reasoning natin, we need to ask the question, why? So, halimbawa, why cheating is bad? Bakit masama ang mandaya? Or why should I help people in need? Bakit kailangan ko silang tulungan? So, no other questions to consider when you are making decision but why? No? Why? You will not cheat just because natatakot ka na ma-fail. You will not cheat because why? Kasi ganito, marami kang maiisip na answers. You don't just help people because you want to be praised, kasi gusto mong sumikat, mga ganun. You have to ask your question, why should I help these people, or why should I help people? So marami kang maiisip na questions. This question, itong tanong na ito, kapag tinanong mo ito sa sarili mo when you are making decision, it will reveal your purpose. It will reveal, kaya ako tumutulong sa ibang tao kasi ganito, ganyan. At the end of the day, para may tutulong din sa'yo, or because nabalas yan, di ba? In Islam. So, when you ask this question, why, when trying to make decisions, it will reveal your purpose. So, asking the question why will lead us not superficial but beyond reward and punishment. So beyond reward and punishment, we will find out our purpose. Our judgment will be based on principles. So magkakaroon tayo ng principles natin which define as rationally established grounds by which one justifies and maintains her moral decisions and judgments. So magkakaroon ka ng prinsipyo na kailangan, or I should always help other people because of your purpose, because of your purpose. Nagkaroon ka ng purpose, and at the same time, naging prinsipyo mo na yon na tumulong. So, why should I care for others and not cheat? Halimbawa, during exams. So, we do not only follow a particular principle, but we have also to explain its reason. Its reason that, halimbawa, cheating is bad because it touches the idea of fair play and validity. Magiging unfair ka. Nor, I will help others out of duty. Diba? But how do we arrive with these claims? So, dito napapasok yung tinatawag natin na moral theory. Moral theory is a systematic attempt to establish the validity of maintaining certain moral principles. So, a moral theory is a system of ideas. Tinatawag din siyang framework, which is ito yung mga susunod na pag-uusapan natin sa subject na ito. Moral theories we have here utilitarianism, natural law, deontology, and virtue ethics. So, these are moral theory, or tinatawag din sila na ethical frameworks. A framework is a theory of interconnected ideas and at the same time, a structure through which we can evaluate our reasons for valuing certain decisions or judgment. So, throughout this course, we will tackle and use moral theories, or these theories, in evaluating ethical issues. So, we will study moral theories such as utilitarianism, natural law, deontology, and virtue ethics. So we will evaluate the strengths and weakness of each theory, but most importantly, we will try to apply these theories in our daily lives, particularly in our situation right now in this pandemic crisis and in this campaign period, no? So marami tayong matatakal na mga issues na pwede nating i-consider na ethical issues. So sa mga susunod na discussion, yun yung gagawin natin. Inshallah. So for the following videos, following lessons, we will study these theories or these frameworks. Okay, let's have a recap or the conclusion of the discussion. So in this video, we have studied that ethics is a branch of philosophy that studies our morality, and our task is to ask questions about the morality of our existence, to examine and evaluate whether our actions and conduct an evaluation on ethical issues of our lives. So, nalaman natin ng ethics is branch ng philosophy, na it studies morality. Now, we have to ask our questions about morality for existence. Bakit tayo nag-exist? We have to examine and evaluate our actions, if it is ethically good or bad. So we do not just sit and relax. Hindi lang ganun yung gagawin natin. We did ethics by the use of reasoning. So we will use reasoning in ethical decision making, okay? We use reasoning because that should be our role in this society, That is why it is very important for you to study ethics, not just other subjects, no? Kasi this subject does not only concern your academic life, academic aspect of your life, no? Kasi it also concern your growth as a human being, as a part of society, as an individual, no? Again, we study ethics. We do ethics by the use of reasoning because that is our role in the society. Okay? And hopefully, at the end of this trimester, you become better versions of yourself. And I think that ends this discussion. Sana may natutunan kayo. And I am hoping na makasagot kayo doon sa dalawang activities na naibigay ko sa video na ito. So we have first, yung i-analyze nyo. Yung answer nyo is, ito-turn in nyo doon sa Edmodo assignment na nakapost sa Edmodo class. Pangalawa is yung decision making or related sa dilemma, moral dilemma. You have to answer in this video, in this YouTube video, sa comment section. No? So bonus points yun. Okay? So again, that ends our video discussion. I hope talagang may naintindihan tayong lahat. Take note, I will not be posting the PowerPoint or handouts. You have to watch this video to be able to answer the questions or the activities that I have given. Nagkakaintindihan tayo? Again, that ends this discussion. Thank you so much for listening.